you know that song you had in remember you who listening? You know that song you had in 2011 that was real hot, and people was calling you and people wanted to do something with you, and they was telling you how they feel your movement and they feel all of your music, and they went and downloaded your mixtape. Well, guess what? Where they at today? You ain't heard from them in a minute, huh? Remember your boy who used to be calling you and wanted to do this with you? You ain't talked to that boy in a minute, huh? It's about to be 2013 right now. But, you know, he ain't really your friend, man. You was a come up at the time, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you was. And if you ain't choose to rock with him, it is what it is. If you did choose to rock with him and now you're not hot no more, it still is what it is, except he got you on paper. Don't get caught up, man. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You gotta take a risk at some point. And I'm talking to myself right now because I got people who coming at me with different opportunities. You gotta take a risk at some point, but don't get caught up. Don't be desperate.
To be technical about it, the right time that you should sign is when you've exhausted all of your local currency. What do I mean by that? When everybody around you knows who you are, when you've been to all the venues, when you've reached your limit as far as what reach you and your people can get you. For example, say you've been to all the open mics, you've opened up for all the hot artists in the state, you've been on some of the hottest tickets around, you've hit up the universities, and you have a pretty significant buzz on YouTube, on Twitter, you have a pretty good following. That's when you should go ahead and when you understand the numbers and you understand the system, go ahead and sign if that's for you, or if you want to stay independent just to see how much bigger you could get. If you have your own national collects, or you have your own people that are kind of invested in getting behind your brand, then you can stay independent. And
if you grinding and you got your own fan base, you doing your own shit in the club, you going to holler at the DJs, making the DJs play your shit, and you get the bubbling, really, they gonna come find you. You ain't really got to look for no deal, you know what I'm saying? It don't work that way. You can't just wake up one morning and think you can rap and say, hey, I'm finna go get a deal. It don't work that way, you know what I'm saying? It's all about black and white, you know what I'm saying? You get a lot of spins on the radio, you get a lot of views on YouTube, the record label won't come and find you, you know what I'm saying? Or they just hear that you fire, they gonna come find you. Well, that's what they did me. But you know, everybody can't be fired, so.
Really and truly, man, to go from local to sign, you make yourself hot enough, they'll come get you. You know what I'm saying? That's basically the main claim to fame, man. If you make yourself hot enough to where you just undeniable, and ain't no way you gonna get to the next level without it. So just hang on, hold on to your talents long enough. Make yourself just unstoppable. Just make yourself unstoppable. Just keep coming with that shit. And in due time, your phone gonna start ringing. Don't call me. You know what I'm saying? I'ma hear about you when you get up there. We're gonna call you. You know what I'm saying? That's basically how you go from there. We'll call you.
I would say as an artist, make sure that you have something that you're bringing to the table. And that's beyond just having what one would consider a hit record. You know, having one song is great, but you have to think about a career span, and you think about true artists, and they've featured on hundreds of hit records. You know, if you really want to develop a true career. So for me, in my opinion, an artist should sign to a record label when they have put in the groundwork themselves and they have a fan base that follows them, and that way it becomes lucrative for the artist as well, and they're not just coming to the table as a talent.
If you don't have the hometown behind you, you can't go anywhere else and make money. You don't deserve a record deal. If you feel like you're a hot artist and you're not getting paid for shows, you're not getting paid for shows. You don't deserve a record deal. If you don't have your ASCAP, your BMI, and no one's selling, no one's buying your record online, you have no iTunes sales, you have no radio spins, you just a nigga with some music, you don't deserve a record deal. The record company puts money behind what you already have going on. Having hot music, it has nothing to do with music. You have to understand that. The more money you're worth, and the more value and the more money that you're making on your own, the more money that they owe you. What are they going to give you a record deal for? So they can give you $50,000 up front and you can go spend it on a car and some clothes? They'll never get that $50,000 back. There's two sides of the game.
Don't understand about record deals is in some cases they short-term loans. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking about getting money, oh man, they gave me such and such $1,000 and such $100,000. Maybe if you be big enough, they might give you $1 million. They didn't give you shit. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give you shit. That's first and foremost. Anything that the labels give you, you want to understand that it's contracted some kind of way to go back to the label. You know what I'm saying? That's the business. It's like I said, it's a short-term loan. Everybody want to go to the bank.
And it got a high interest rate. Please put that part in there. It got a very high interest rate. So for that loan, you know what I mean, artists a lot of times, especially artists without a lot of bargaining power, you're gonna have to pay back a high interest rate on that loan. So for that upfront money, you're paying a lot on the back end, you know. So just gotta think about it from both sides.
And you know, that's when it becomes all about representation. Who's representing you? Is your stuff properly? Are you getting BDS? Are you getting proper spin numbers? Are you getting everything documented? And I think that's where a lot of the local artists they kind of like they miss that boat, which is the collection of media. As many flyers as your name could be on, as many CDs that you could get on.
Artists knowing the right time to go from being independent to a signed artist per se is difficult, because even in the aspect of calling something independent, you may be an artist signed to an independent record label, and in this day and age, honestly, it's a hard decision to make. On the record deal side, you're going to be the last person to get paid, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily that you're going to get messed over or anything like that, but it's a matter of knowing business and knowing what you're getting into. It can be very lucrative for you and open up so many different avenues and channels, but you just have to know how to take your part and play your position per se, and to really go for it. So that's two of the biggest misconceptions in my eyes, that artists think that as soon as you sign the paper that you've made it, and B, that they're just gonna make a whole lot of money because they have a record deal, and that's not the case at all.
Because what you're doing with these artists, a lot of record labels, what you're doing with an artist, you just believing in a stranger. You know what I'm saying? You believe in a stranger with some talent. So to secure yourself, you're gonna say, all right, look, I believe in your talent. I believe in your talent a lot. I believe in your talent so much that I put it under these terms and conditions to kind of guide it through, so that you, for one, can benefit off of it for the greater good of my company.
People think that if you got a record deal, you just automatically paid and you're automatically rich. Some of these people, man, they getting record deals and they might get $20,000 straight up to go in their pocket, straight up, maybe 25. And then after you pay everybody who got to get broke off, ain't no telling how much you walking away with. That might be some money to you. I don't know your situation, you feel me? I don't know. But I don't know if people know this about me, but I had a real job, you know, like a couple of years ago. I graduated college a couple of years ago, and I was a teacher. I was teaching, so I made a salary. So I was making more than that as a teacher. So for me to get $20,000 or something and feel like, oh, I'm on because I got a record deal, that stuff wasn't very appealing to me, you know, when I started hearing them type of stories. So that's a big misconception.
And that signing thing to me is all about the strength of your brand. Signing always brings you a bigger brand, because say for example Universal or Sony or all these other people looking for talent, when they get behind you, they add their name to your brand, and that gives your brand a louder voice to say, not only am I doing these clubs and doing this and this and this, but I'm signed by these people. It's still up to you to hustle and up to you to sell your brand to the people, to the consumer that you're trying to reach. So as far as when's a good time to sign, when you've exhausted everything that's within your power to do, when you can no longer book yourself gigs, when you've reached a limit to how much you can charge for a show, when your demand is just too high to where you can't answer phone calls from Nebraska, that's probably when you need to get signed.
You need to look at your contract basically as a starting point to get your next one. Most people can't even get out of their first contract because they look at it wrong. A record deal from a record label standpoint was to expand the artist, allow the artist to benefit financially and grow his career for the success of the record label, so that the record label can attract more artists that they can could possibly do the same thing for. You know what I'm saying?
It's the right time to move from being independent to signed.
When you're independent, if you really getting money that you know you're comfortable with, you might want to just stay independent because you get to keep all your creative control, all your freedom, and if you actually, this is a business, you actually making real good money. That's like, yo, like we good like this, we're gonna keep doing it at our own pace. Stay independent. But as far as getting signed, if you ready to basically roll the dice, you know, because when you get signed, sometimes it can slow up your progress you had going independently. So if you ready to really roll the dice, because if you hit big, you get signed and you hit big, that's when the millions come. That's when you really take it just out of this world and you start changing the lives of your family and your loved ones, because you guapped up, you caked up, you know. But at the same time, if you roll them dice on that major record deal and it don't work out, you're gonna be one of them stories. You're gonna be one of them people watching this right here. You're gonna be like, dang, you were right. I should have stayed independent. Yeah.
Artists probably don't show it, they probably don't say it, but all artists got something fucked up with them. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, a record deal is it's a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? You can't say it's all good, you can't say it's all bad. You know what I'm saying?